Let's start our yoga class laying down. So find your way to your mat. You could lay down in Shavasana, corpse pose with your arms and legs extended. It's kind of the classic relaxation pose. Or you could find a more lower back friendly constructive rest pose, bending your knees, standing your feet up at the edges of your mat, kind of tucking your tailbone under just a little bit so that your low back feels a little more connected to the ground. In constructive rest, I really like to have my knees resting together at the center so I don't feel like I have to balance my legs or hold them up in any way. Go ahead and take a few experiments, getting as comfortable as you can for now. Just letting the backside of your body greet the floor, kind of sink in to a restful place. You can always rearrange any time, but know that these first centering section is kind of meant to explore some stillness. So if that feels good to you, stillness it is. If not, of course, do your thing. And perhaps closing your eyes now, or just softening your gaze and kind of looking at nothing in particular in front of you. Let's just take a sigh, a clearing breath here right away. So inhaling through your nose and sighing out of your mouth in your own timing. If that felt amazing, maybe taking another round or two, sighing it out. Sometimes a good sigh it just works wonders. And then taking a body scan here, starting at the tips of your toes, just see how things are. Try not to be judgmental about how you're feeling or how you're not feeling or this or that. We're just noticing now. So, noticing your toes and your feet, your ankles and calves. Becoming aware of your knees and your thighs, the upper legs, both hip points and glutes, your entire pelvis, your stomach and chest, the whole of your back, the whole back together, I mean. So the low back, the mid back, the upper back. Are you noticing any tightness or expansiveness or maybe just kind of a numbness or nothing? Where are you at in there with your back? Feeling your shoulders getting a little heavier, letting your muscles really have a few moments here without any work to be done. Notice your arms, your hands, your fingers. Notice your neck, your throat, the back of your head, your face. Noticing your whole body together at the same time. And now turning to your emotions. If that feels like a safe place to be today or an interesting place to explore, just start to notice if you have any emotions present that you're able to name or you're able to feel right now. Or perhaps how you have felt throughout your day or your last couple hours. Just allowing your whole self to be present. So even if you weren't feeling great, even if some of these emotions are hard, just letting yourself acknowledge them for now. No need to fix or change or do anything about it, just simply witnessing your experience. It's not that simple, is it? It can be sometimes. Just noticing where you're at with that. And then one more noticing here is just your energy level. How much energy have you had to or wanted to exert today? How much energy are you willing to play with tonight in our class, today in your practice? If you are feeling low on energy, perhaps you make a little promise to yourself that you'll take it easy. Even when your ego tells you to go harder, maybe tonight you don't listen. Maybe you take it easy. Or if your energy is very high and you want to burn a little of that energy off, maybe you make a little promise to yourself that you'll add on a little extra something here and there. It's up to you. And with that in mind, I invite you to consider choosing an intention or a dedication for your practice. Something or someone you'd like to kind of dedicate to your practice to or work towards cultivating. And as always, you are more than welcome to stay here and choose rest for your practice today, or join us whenever you'd like. If you are wanting to start moving, we will start with a little wiggle of the fingers and the toes, a little circling of the wrists and ankles, maybe a yawn, who knows. Let's head into a long body stretch. There comes the yawn. Legs and arms reaching and stretching in opposite directions, as tall, as long as you can be here, reaching. If you had a pillow under your head or any other props, you might consider moving those to the side for now. And then we'll move into banana pose. We'll walk the heels over toward the right edge of your mat. Notice a little bit of opening or stretch through that left hip flexor, maybe the left side a little bit here. We'll grab hold of the left wrist, give your upper body a gentle pull toward the right edge of your mat. So you're creating a little banana side bend shape, feeling that length and stretch and bend through that left side of your body now. And instead of just thinking about how far you can bend over, we're kind of like finding a little bit of length here too. So see how you can balance that side bend, feeling with almost like you're reaching up at a diagonal instead of straight out to the right. And then take at least one more breath here and see if you can feel that left lung filling with air. And when the time is right, switching sides, walking your heels over toward the left edge of your mat, grabbing hold of your right wrist and giving your upper body a gentle pull toward the left. Again, creating that nice banana shape, side bending through your right side now. And we're filling that right lung with a little more air, just noticing how your breath really can add a little extra to each pose, especially a side bend. And when we breathe kind of deep in all these different shapes and figures, we're kind of breathing with tissues of the lungs that maybe aren't normally breathed into quite so much in our normal postures. sitting, standing, walking, laying down kind of stuff. All right, coming back to the center. Let's lower the arms down by our sides. Let's bend the knees and stand your feet up on the mat. Tuck your tailbone under a little bit, so again, that low back is kind of pressing flat down into the back. We're going to press the hands down by your sides, press your elbows down, tuck your shoulder blades in a little bit, and then press your upper shoulders down as well. Pick up all of your toes, spread out your toes, and then set them back down. So we've got a lot of downward pressure happening so far through the feet and arms. With your inhale, lift the pelvis up, reaching your hip points up toward the ceiling. Feel your glutes start to work. Feel your thighs start to do some work here. And then with your exhale, lower everything back down. We're going to flow with it. So let's use our entire inhale to get to our lifted position. So nice and slow. We're lifting on the inhale. And we're lowering on the exhale. Inhale, rising up, feeling those opposing forces, pressing down and lifting up. And exhale as you soften on down. All right, let's go one more time. This time we'll stay lifted. So once your inhale comes rising up, staying there, you might tuck your chin toward your chest a little bit more to find length through your back of your neck. With your next inhale, let's lift up the heels, coming up to the tippy toes, pressing down through the tippy toes. Exhale, lower your heels. We're still lifted here. One last exploration. Inhale, lift up the toes, so you're just on your heels. And exhale, lower the toes, lower your pelvis all the way down. Good, good, good. Let's hug the knees in toward the chest. You can keep hugging them in here or start to take a little bit of free movement, rocking some weight over the low back, the sacrum, whole lower area of the body. And a little rocking side to side or a little circling of your knees. Just some free, intuitive movement. Massaging some pressure through the low back. See if you can invite your breath awareness back in. Just breathing at a nice pace for you. Through your nose if that's possible for you today. Okay. Let's start to come up to a seat. You can either rock and roll up and down the spine a couple of times or turn onto either side, pushing your way up through the fetal position. We can find a cross-legged seat or have your legs extended. Let's tent the fingertips on either side so you're helping yourself to sit up nice and tall, lengthening upward through the crown of your head. I like to close my eyes here. It just feels like I can tell what's going on more. So always the option to have your eyes closed. Take a couple of breaths and just feel how actually it's quite challenging. There's a lot of muscle engagement here just to sit upright. With your inhale, let's reach the arms around and up, joining the hands overhead. Option to look at the palms as they join. And then exhale, lower your hands down to your heart with a little tuck of your chin. So our gaze just kind of follows the hands as we go. With your inhale, reaching high, gazing up. Exhale, reaching the arms around and down. Good. Let's make this into a real flow here. So follow your breath. We're inhaling to reach up. When your exhale comes, bring your hands down to heart center, tucking your chin. Keep going now. Follow your breath. We're inhaling as we lift. We're exhaling as we lower. Keep going. One more round on your own. Feel free to improvise if you forget what goes where. We'll eventually end with the fingertips back on the floor. And then we'll do a little neck warm up here. So keeping the rest of your body still, we'll just turn the head, looking to the left with your inhale, looking to your right with your exhale. Inhale, gliding to the left. Exhale, gliding to the right. Just keep going a couple of times, using your entire inhale to get to one side, your entire exhale to get to the other side. Good. And then coming back to center, we will inhale and look up. And then exhale, chin down toward your chest. Inhale, looking up, kind of sticking your chin out a little bit so you feel a nice little stretch through the jaw or the throat. And exhale, looking down. Just one more time. Inhale, looking up. And exhale, come back to center. Great. All right, let's move along to hands and knees for cat and cow. If you are on a hard surface or you want a little extra cushioning for your joints, just bring whatever you have handy, maybe a pillow or a blanket or a kneeling cushion if you have one of those, if you're a gardener, underneath your knees. We will spread the fingertips out nice and wide. Hands below the shoulders, knees below your hips. With your inhale, start to lower your belly, lift your tailbone and your gaze. Seeing if you can get a little stretch going through the abdominal area, cow pose. And exhale, round your spine up to cat pose. We're tucking the tailbone, tucking the chin, pressing the hands into the floor. Inhale, cow, gaze lifts, belly lowers. Exhale, cat, rounding on up. Keep going here, seeing how these positions kind of make the lungs sort of like a bellows. Like we're rounding up to cat pose, we're kind of squeezing the air out of the lungs. We're inhaling, filling the lungs back up with our cow. And if you want a little more neck loosening, when next time you're in cat pose, just kind of pause there with the body and maybe letting your head kind of rock side to side like a yes or a no, like movement or a little twisting of the neck. Good, good. And then coming back up to neutral. We're going to straighten the right leg and plant it on the right side of your mat. I'm going to turn towards you. You just stay where you're at. So the right leg will straighten out toward the right side. See if you can get your right foot down to touch the mat there on the side. If the floor feels a little too far away, of course, grabbing blocks underneath your hands anytime will be great. And we're just going to do a little rocking. So just start to reach your hips back, almost like you were headed towards child's pose, but don't go all the way back. See if you can start to feel that inner line, inner side of the right leg, and then rock forward. So we're just going to get this little rocking motion going here, tuning in to kind of the inner groin on the right side, the inner right leg. I'm just kind of rocking forward and back. See how that feels. Keeping with your breath. Some days this feels really intense. Other days it's just like one of my favorites. Okay. And you can pause if there's a spot that feels like it needs a little more time, or just keep kind of rocking forward and back. And then I do recommend for this next pose, if you have blocks, you could try using those. Otherwise, if you don't, no problem. We will walk the hands and or the blocks over toward the left side. So away from that straight leg, over to the left side. Your left hand will plant on the block, just about in line. So it'll go left hand, left knee, right foot, more or less in a line here. Then start to open your right hand up toward the sky, kind of pressing your left hip point forward. And we're just reaching the right hand high. You could start to lean back a little bit more if that feels good. Just notice what you're feeling and where you're feeling it. Some people will be feeling a lot through the hip flexors. Some people will be feeling a big stretch through the abdominals or even the chest or that right shoulder. There's lots of ways to feel into this pose. I feel that it makes me feel like energy expanding. And you might circle that right wrist a couple times both ways, or even circle that right arm all the way around a couple times if you want to play with it a little more. All right. When you are ready, bringing your hand back down to the block or the floor, walking your hands back into the center where we started, and we will switch legs. So that right knee comes back in, left leg starts to straighten and plant the left foot right alongside the edge of your mat or wherever you're at, and just start to take that rocking, kind of pulling back a little bit and then coming forward a little bit. And you don't have to go as far as you can. You can start quite small. You could close your eyes here. Just really have this be more of an internal perspective through what you're feeling. Tuning in again to that inner left thigh. Maybe the left side of the groin a little bit here too. Good, good. Feel free to pause or continue to move anytime. And eventually, when you're ready for our next pose, we'll walk the hands or blocks over toward the right edge of the mat or the right side of your space. So the right hand, right knee, left foot, or more or less in about a line wherever you're at. Reach that left arm up and open, finding that nice expansive opener here. It's kind of like gate pose. We're pressing that left hip forward a little bit here, kind of both hips reaching forward. You might lean back slightly or start to take some movement through that left wrist, maybe circling your left wrist, maybe circling that left arm, some big shoulder circles. Freestyle a little bit if something else seems interesting to you. Cool, cool. And then bringing that left hand back down to the floor or blocks, walk your hands back to the center of your mat, and then pull your left knee in so you're back in tabletop position. We'll find our way to extended child's pose next. So bringing your knees out wide toward the edges of your mat, big toes touching behind you, starting to sink your seat toward your heels, stopping anywhere along the way. You could always come down to rest on your forearms or walk your hands out toward the top of your mat and then sink your head and heart toward the floor. And finding a deep belly breath when you arrive, letting your belly just take up lots of space. We're not trying to shrink ourselves. We're not trying to appear smaller or any different than we are. Let's take up that space. Breathe into your belly, letting the belly expand. And exhale, just releasing. Really present in this moment. A couple more belly breaths. Breathing in and out. Just about one more breath here. And then when you're ready, rising up to tabletop. We are going to find our way to downward dog here. So if you have your blocks, you know I'm a huge fan of using those. So we'll spread the fingertips out nice and wide, gripping into the blocks or the floor, whatever you've got. Curl your toes under, start to pick up your knees, and then reach your tailbone back and up, straightening your legs a little bit or a lot. You can always keep a very deep bend in your knees if you want to feel more of a stretch through your low back or your sides. Find your breath here, commit to your breath, and if you'd like, pedal your legs out, bending and straightening opposite knees. fingertips active here, taking a little pressure out of the wrists by engaging the fingers, pressing, especially between your thumb and your pointer finger. Just about one more breath here. One more breath out. With your inhale, bend your knees, look up to your hands. Exhale, step or walk your hands behind your feet or behind your hands or your blocks for ragdoll forward fold. You could widen your feet out a little extra if you like. You could have a little bend or a big bend of your knees. Let your upper body hang kind of loose here. Let your neck be loose. Keep breathing. It's easy to hold the breath when we kind of turn upside down, so just make sure it's flowing. You could sway a little bit here or just be still. You could also nod your head yes and no. Two more breaths. One more breath. Breathe like normal. We are going to start bending the knees nice and deep. Tuck your chin toward your chest and then slowly rise up to stand, walking your hands up your legs for extra support. When you eventually get to the top, we're going to find our nice little shake and bounce here. So you might start by lifting and lowering your heels or lifting and lowering your shoulders at the same time. We're getting a nice bounce going through the body, almost like the muscles are kind of like loosening up off of the bones. And adding on any other little shakes that you want. So maybe you're shaking the hands or the arms a little bit. Maybe you shake a leg and the other leg. If you're someone who likes to shake your head a little bit, you might try that. Whew, just getting a nice big shake through your whole body. It's great for our circulation, especially when we've been upside down the last number of breaths here. So just shaking it out, bouncing it out. Just a little longer. Once you are done with your shaking, come on up to the top of your mat. Take a look at your feet. Make sure they're a comfortable width apart from each other so you feel nice and stable. We're going to do a kind of a quick little flow here today. With your inhale, reach your arms around and up, joining your palms overhead. And then exhale, swan dive, forward fold. The arms reach back, out wide, hinge at your hips, bend your knees a little bit, and then let your hands come down toward the floor. Inhale, halfway lift, hands come to the shins, knees, or thighs. Exhale, hands come down to the floor or blocks. We're stepping the right foot back first, and then the left to your high plank. Just one breath in. Breath out, lower your knees, lower your chest. Untuck your toes, press the tops of your feet down into the mat so much that the knees start lifting up. Your glutes and your quads are starting to do some work here. With your inhale, rise up to your baby cobra, head and chest lifting, using the strength of your core muscles and muscles around your spine, not so much your hands. You could even hover your hands up off of the floor. And then exhale, lower back down. Lots of effort can be used here. Inhale, baby cobra, rising up. Nice and engaged here, kind of through your whole body. And then exhale, lower down. One more time. Inhale, rise up, baby cobra. Feel your shoulder blades hugging together behind you. Stay lifted here for your exhale. One last inhale. Exhale, press your way up to tabletop and back to child's pose. Feeling your lower back open. Back up, inhale, send your breath to your low back. Exhale. One more breath in. One more breath out. Inhale, rise up, tabletop. Curl those toes under and exhale to downward dog. Breathe in here. Breathe out. Inhale. Exhale. Last breath in. Last breath out. Inhale, bend your knees a lot. Look up toward your hands. With your exhale, step that right foot forward first, just as far as it'll go. And then your left foot. And then making your way up to the top for forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, half tuck of your chin. Exhale, soften those knees, forward fold. Inhale, press your feet down, rise up, reaching the arms around, join those hands up at the top. Exhale, hands come down to your heart center. Take a few breaths here to just come back to your center. Physically, emotionally, finding that balance between effort and ease here. Check for over-efforting or squeezing or holding anywhere that it's not necessary. Letting go a little in some way. Remember your intention here too. Let's take a clearing breath now together. Inhale through your nose. Pause for a second at the top. Let a little bit of tension build. Open mouth, exhale, sigh it out. We'll do that flow once more. With your inhale, reach your arms around and up, joining your palms overhead. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Use that breath. Exhale, hands come down to the floor or your blocks. We're stepping that left foot back first and then your right to your high plank. Knees can come down right away if you'd like. Otherwise, we're here for 2 breaths. Inhale. Exhale, feel your strength, even if there's a wobble. One more breath in. Breath out, lower your knees, lower your chest. Untuck your toes, press the tops of the feet down, getting into place for baby cobra. With your inhale, lifting up, baby cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, baby cobra. Legs active to protect the low back. Exhale, lower. One more time, we'll stay lifted this time. Inhale, rise up. Option to hover your hands up off of the floor. Exhale here. One last breath in. Plant your hands on the floor. Exhale, rise up, tabletop, flowing on back to child's pose. Feel how open your low back can get when you arrive. Big breath in, send your breath to the low back. Big breath out. We're here for it. One more breath in. One more breath out. With your inhale, rise up, tabletop. Curl your toes under and exhale to our downward dog of this practice. 3 breaths. Inhale. Feel those fingertips activating. Reach through your shoulders. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last breath in, we're active. Breath out. Inhale, bend your knees, look to your hands. Exhale, step that left foot forward first, and then your right. Forward fold at the top, one way or the other. That step up is quite challenging at times, so just do your best. Inhale, halfway lift. Half tuck of your chin. Feel that length through the back of your neck. Exhale, fold with a little bend of your knees. Press your feet down into the ground. Inhale, rise up. reaching the arms around. Join your hands overhead. Exhale, hands come down to your heart. Once again, finding your center. Maybe closing your eyes this time if you like as you check in. Feeling for signs of life in your body. Maybe you can feel the temperature of your skin, the beating of your heart. And then let's take a clearing breath together. Inhale through your nose. Pause at the top for that little bit of tension to build. Exhale with a sigh. Let it out. Go ahead and blink your eyes open whenever you'd like. Let your hands come down by your sides. We'll do a little bit of balancing, and today we will just do tree pose. I don't know why I said just. Tree pose is a great pose. So bring your feet a little bit wider than hip width distance apart if you like. We'll just kind of let the hips kind of swing side to side a little bit here first. Maybe shake the arms out as you prepare. And you can always come to a wall or have your back on a wall for extra support, or some chairs if you like. Let's shift all the weight over to that right leg, and then we're opening that left knee out toward the left side. Place your left heel on your right shin there. So we have a little kickstand going first. Find an unmoving focal point somewhere in front of you. It's called your drishti, your gaze point. So just focusing in on something there. Make sure you feel nice and steady here. Option, if you're feeling steady, to pick up the left toes, just kind of hinging at the ankle there. It's kind of an active variation of tree pose. Alternatively, you could slide that left foot up to your right calf, or even reach down and give that left foot a little hoist up to the right inner thigh. Wherever you want to be, just keep focusing on your drishti, inviting in a little sense of playfulness here. You don't have to be perfect. And if you want to explore any arm variations or movements through the arms, you're welcome to just play around, maybe lifting your arms up with your inhales, maybe doing something else with your exhales. Just see what comes to you. It could be entirely random, or it could become somewhat of a dance or kind of a flowing movement. Who knows? Just you. Let's have about 3 more breaths exploring tree pose. One more breath in. With your exhale, lowering your arms, lowering that left foot back down to the floor, giving that standing leg, that right leg, a little shake or a wiggle or whatever else comes to mind. And then we're going to shift all the weight eventually here over to the left foot. Kickstand that right heel on your left ankle or so. That right knee is opening up toward the right side. You could pick that same drishti if you'd like, or experiment with maybe looking a little higher or a little lower. Whatever feels good to you. You can always keep this kickstand position the whole time, or if you're feeling up for a little more of a challenge, you could hinge at that right ankle, lifting your toes up, but keeping them close to the floor for support anytime you need. Or you can slide that right foot up to the calf, or way up toward the inner thigh. Just let your arms do whatever they want here. Focusing on your drishti, breathing. Maybe even having a little fun. Inviting movement in if you want movement through the arms. Or maybe just growing your branches, as they say, reaching up. Make it your own here for these last 3 slow breaths. And just about one more breath in. And breath out, lower everything down, shake out that leg. Anything else that needs some shaking, just go for it anytime. All right, we're heading down to the floor, so go ahead and make your way there. And we're gonna go right to our backs, so feel free to pull those knees back with you as you come to lie back down. And I'll do a little more of that free movement here, so rocking some weight around your low back, circling your knees, or finding some other fun way to get some nice release and massage through the low back. And if you let your arms go kind of straight, still holding onto the knees, but the arms are straight, so your knees are as far away as they can, you can get a little lower into that SI joint. There's actually two SI joints on either side of the sacrum, connects the sacrum to the spine and the pelvis. So that low area, you can kind of feel it in the glutes a little bit, or even if you kind of lean to the sides, you can get into that hip capsule joint a little bit. Just explore. Doesn't have to get too technical. All right. And then we'll bring the feet down to the floor. We'll do an eagle leg twist today. So bringing your arms out wide to a T, or maybe down a little bit like a V-like shape. Let's pick up the left leg and cross it over your right leg like you're sitting in a chair. So thigh to thigh, knee to knee, eagle legs here. We'll pick up the pelvis, scoot over toward that left edge of your mat, set the pelvis down, and then allow your knees to start twisting over toward the right a little bit. And sometimes it takes kind of like shimmying your foot over toward the right edge of your mat, or getting some props to help your knees kind of stay up so you're not cranking on that left hip too much. Find your sweet spot there through the lower body, finding that right amount of twist. And then option to continue gazing straight up, or start to turn your gaze a little bit toward the left. So the opposite way your knees are twisting. One big sign for me that I've gone too far would be checking in with my breath and noticing if I'm holding it or I feel unable to breathe, at least halfway. So checking in there, any adjustments, making those. And yoga and practicing the same types of poses and movements and coming back to your breath time and time and time again. Even though we've done a lot of this before, this practice helps us to know ourselves, to notice any little differences, and to just continue to be with ourselves. And I think that really helps to build trust in our bodies, trust in our abilities, a curiosity, an awareness that can help prevent injuries or help us to know which parts of our body need more love and care. So just continuously checking in. And we'll think about heading to the other side. So turning your gaze back up, bringing those knees up. Go ahead and lift that left leg, maybe straightening it for a second, or kind of kicking, straightening, and bending that left knee a little bit. And then bring that left foot to the floor. We'll scoot back to the center of the mat here, and then switch sides so that right leg crosses over the left. Thigh to thigh, knee to knee, eagle legs. And then we'll pick the pelvis up and scoot over toward that right edge of your mat, and then allow your knees to start twisting over to the left. And this can be a small amount of twist. Just see if you can really start to tune into the outside of that right hip or that right glute a little bit. Getting a nice twist going. Option again to keep your gaze straight up, or start to turn your head a little bit toward the right. Checking in with your breath and body. Just 2 more breaths on this side. And eventually coming back up to the center, gazing up, lifting the knees. Go ahead and scoot your pelvis back to the center, straighten that right leg a little bit, maybe bend and straighten that right knee or whatever other little movements want to come through. And then go ahead and take any last movements, poses, or stretches that your body is asking you for now before heading into our final rest. So they don't have to be specifically yoga poses. You could just do a little extra stretch or movement. Of course, if there were any poses you want to explore before heading into your final resting pose, the doors are open for you. And at some point in the near future, just heading back to a comfortable position. Maybe it's just how you started today, perhaps in Shavasana, corpse pose, or maybe that nice constructive rest pose with your feet standing up at the edges of your mat and your knees resting together at the center. It can feel quite relieving for the low back if you're feeling that lying flat gets a little crunchy there. Let your arms just find their place. They can be out wide, or maybe you rest your hands on your low rib cage or your hip points or anywhere else. Keep adjusting until you feel as comfortable as you think you can feel for now. Perhaps closing your eyes and giving yourself full permission to rest. Letting your muscles feel heavy and grounded. No need to hold yourself up in any which way. Let the floor support you. It is definitely strong enough. So see about really letting yourself feel these last moments here of rest, which is just as important as the movement portion. And I will read the poem The Laughing Heart by Charles Bukowski. Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There is a light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Be on the watch. The gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous, and the gods wait to delight in you. And please know that you are more than welcome to stay right here resting resting until you feel rested. Feel free to just ignore the ending of class here if you want to stay. But eventually, when you're ready, just begin to reawaken your body with small, gentle movements, maybe wiggling the fingers and toes, maybe deepening your breath or yawning or swallowing. Continuing to reawaken, maybe moving more of your joints, your wrists, your elbows, your ankles. Maybe reaching for a long body stretch again, or any other movements or poses that come to mind. We'll bend the knees and eventually roll onto either side, finding your way to the fetal position with your knees slightly tucked in, and your bottom arm could be your pillow now. Just be fully here in this transition pose, fetal position, for at least one more nice slow breath. And at the end of your exhale, help your way up to a seat using the strength of your hands and arms. Maybe crossing your legs as you join your hands in front of your heart. And you're welcome to join me in our closing chant, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, either singing or humming or saying it along with me or just listening. Taking a breath in to prepare. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And together, bringing your thumbs up to your third eye center, the seat of intuition. If it feels right to you, let's take a little bow forward in gratitude now. Peace. Coming back up when you're ready. Thank you all so much for joining today's class. Hope you enjoyed. Would love to hear from you if you have any questions. Otherwise, I hope to see you again soon.